Adam, I wish I ran the marathon. Unfortunately, it was my fiance who ran the marathon. But it seems like an insane thing to do.
I ran that same marathon.
Did you really?
Yeah, but I haven't framed my medal yet.
Well, I hope it's catching on camera. But yeah, she framed it and is very proud of it.
Yeah, she should be proud.
She's proud of it. I mean, it destroys your body in a way that I was like, this is unhealthy and nobody should run a marathon.
I just can't help but notice that like all the things you're wearing are about other people's accomplishments.
Yeah.
But also, your fiance is celebrating her own accomplishment.
Or am I the ultimate feminist to put my fiance stuff on my own podcast, because I'm so proud of her and so supportive of her. And welcome to the podcast. This is Everything But the Scores with Danny Jolles. Today is May 10th, 2022. As always, I open with, if you just could, subscribe, like, rate, all the things that you comment, the things that you know you're supposed to do. If you can do it, it's great. Tell a friend. That's always a nice thing to do. And get involved, because we continue to have people send in stories, and it's really helpful, and it helps me out. And also, one person, we're going to talk about later, corrected me on a story, and I genuinely appreciate that. Joining me out of the gates, a producer, a co-host, Noah Cobb for everybody.
Hello.
Good to be buddy. Flew in this morning.
Good. I did fly in this morning. Flight was good, but it's an early flight, so it is what it is with those.
Blown away you did that. You didn't tell me ahead of time, and you showed up, and you were like, I just flew in.
No, man. I gotta be here, man. I gotta be here for this. All right.
It's the kind of Noah's the best. Follow him on social. Sometimes we have a guest, sometimes we don't. Today we do have a guest, and he's a great one. You might know him from the TV show Adam Ruins Everything. You might know him from his podcast Factually, of which I have listened to multiple episodes, but one episode in particular that I was being yelled at for earlier. But his episode about COVID was the most informative thing I heard about it, and I stand by the fact that I was riveted and basically gave me the most realistic expectation of what was coming. His new show, G-Word, will be out May 19th on Netflix. It is, I've heard, very good, and I did read parts of it, and it is so funny and good. And he also, I'll save it for once we say, hey, Adam Conover, everybody.
Hey, thank you for having me. Did you read parts of the script because you auditioned for it?
I auditioned for it.
But we didn't cast you.
No, you did not cast me.
Fuck, I'm so sorry.
I feel like it was actually the right decision. I remember, because I think there was the one white guy cast member, and it went to James Austin Johnson, now on SNL, and it's like, and I remember like he's one of those people. There's certain people who I'll lose out to, who I'll be like,
yeah,
I could have been that person. Like he just had heat or what. Like, and then there's people like him who it's like, yeah, give it to him every time.
I mean, first of all, we cast him because we were thinking about using his Trump impression, and then we did not use it on the show.
Really?
Because we decided it just wasn't tonally right for what we were trying to do in that scene. But when we were on set one day, he shows up and says, hey, could you guys shoot me up by 4? I have an SNL audition tonight. And we were like, tell you what, buddy, sure we can. Like, we want to support people's career aspirations on this show. So yes, we'll shoot you out early. And he went, and the rest is history. And so he owes me probably a steak dinner.
For sure.
Like something, right?
I think it's also going to be kind of cool for your show to be like, it's going to seem like you snagged an SNL cast member.
Oh, yeah.
For your show.
Absolutely.
Because you had him.
He would straight up not have been allowed to do it if it was the other order. Our show's coming out after his SNL premiere. But he is in, Lorne Michaels has just a chain clamped around his ankle now.
Oh, as he I mean,
yeah.
There's certain people who get SNL, and Melissa Villasenor, who just are like, you see for years, and you're like, yeah, what are we doing not casting this person?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like there's people who get SNL who you're like, oh, all right, they might flourish, they might not. Like, that's interesting. There's certain people you're like, if all they do is impressions, I mean, what are we doing right now?
Yeah.
What is your show? If we're not casting.
This is what you want to talk about.
No, listen, we always start a little bit. I also wanted to say one more thing about you, which I don't think is said enough.
Oh, okay.
Because I have been referred to as a preachier comic, and I think you and I have similar styles where we talk about things.
Sure.
You walk the walk of what you talk about so much more than people know. And every time I talk to you, I'm like, so, yeah, I mean, you take public transportation. The homeless thing. You posted a thing about van life the other day.
Oh yeah.
I started telling everyone about it. I was like, this is really interesting.
The idea that, you want me to say what it was?
Yeah.
The idea that, hashtag van life is a big thing on social media. People who like refinish vans. And it is, look, I don't have a problem with people doing it, right? I have the problem with the promotion of it as an aesthetic, desirable lifestyle, because when people become homeless, the thing that happens most often is they go from living in an apartment to living in a vehicle, and often that's a van or an RV or often a car, and that's not a fun lifestyle to live. None of those people are like, oh, wow, hashtag van life. They're like, I wish I could get inside. Right.
And it's very hard once you're in that, because I think to get out of hashtag van life is very hard because you no longer have an address to report. You no longer have a residence that you can be like, I pay rent to this guy. Now I'd like to pay rent to you.
And, neighbors start complaining. A lot of areas have laws against people sleeping in their cars, or they'll make you move your car every so often or whatever. And so the result is that people who live in their vehicle full time, eventually the vehicle probably gets like seized by the city, and then they're living in a tent. And so, the people who are doing hashtag van life, they almost always have a home to go back to, or they're doing a little vacation. They're backpacking around Europe, but they're doing it in a van. And like, that's fun and that's fine. And if it was just like, hey, it's fun to tool around America in a van, yes, no problem. It's fun to go to Yellowstone, right? And like, car camping is fun. But the idea that like, you just don't need so much stuff. Like, you don't, like, a van could be your home. Like, that is, like, so I don't like to use the word privilege, but, like, the ignorance of that is kind of stunning. And so for me, it's a teachable moment.
As someone who literally heard it and was like, I've never thought of that. I always just thought it was, like, a lifestyle I would never want, but I was like, I guess people are looking into like, hey, live your life, live your dreams. And I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. That's exactly how you end up.
Now, it is symptomatic of housing prices being ridiculous in America. That middle class or upper middle class people are like, instead of buying a home, what if I buy a van? But they're sort of framing it as some sort of like cool, fun choice rather than like the same reason that people are homeless is because housing prices are too high.
I hear you.
You want to talk about sports, don't you?
Sure do, Adam. You and I bonded initially because you had a joke about baseball.
Yeah.
That I yelled at you about. But then very quickly I was like,
a couple comics yelled at me about that joke, baseball fans.
But I mean, sports people are very sensitive when you go after sports. famously sensitive people. I've always, the amount of time I've spent on stage just like yelling at people, being like, don't make fun of it. It's great.
No, my joke is about, the premise is like baseball is boring and nobody likes it. That's the premise of the joke. And I do a whole bunch of, I'd have like 5 to 7 minutes on it. And then I did it at Flappers, and this comic is very funny. Dave Reinitz came up to me, and he was like, you don't like baseball? What are you talking about? and we started talking about baseball. I was like, yeah, I watch the Red Sox and the Mets. Now I follow the Dodgers. And he started going, so you like baseball? How can you do this joke? And I was like, yeah, Dave, I was able to write a funny joke about why baseball sucks because I watch baseball.
It is funny because I think I had the exact same interaction with you where I was like, how can you say that? And you're like, well, I love it. And so therefore, and I was like,
it's a sport you enjoy because it's boring. You just have it on.
I've always said baseball is the best on sport. It's the sport I have on, like right now is the best time because I have it on all day long while I'm working.
Yeah.
It's just on in the background. And it's the best sport to go to with a non-sports fan because you can just kind of be like, we're just going to hang out in this outdoor area for 3 hours.
Yeah, no, that's very well. I think baseball is too long as a live experience, and we can get into that. And that is people's complaint about it. My girlfriend won't go to a baseball game with me because they're too long, but she will go with me to, and I brought my hat, an LAFC game, our local soccer team, because the games are 90 minutes and change. They're never longer than 2 hours.
That's fun.
And the halftime is 15 minutes long. So you're in and out in 2 hours.
And soccer is there's a lot more action. Baseball's a low action game.
Well, and that makes it good for TV because you look away and then you like, oh, something's about to happen, and you look, or you look at the replay. But I've been thinking about adding this to my joke, and I'm curious about this. Because yes, I like to have a baseball game on. I have other stuff to do, right? I'm like, I got to do the dishes, or I want to write or something. I'll have a baseball game on. But like, is anybody sitting there watching a whole baseball game? Do you ever do this? Do you sit down from the first pitch and just like do nothing but watch the baseball game?
I'm sorry
for 4 hours.
I'm happy to report I have, and
other than the World Series, I'm talking about a regular season game.
So obviously, playoffs are a different game. So I'm going to take playoffs out of the way where I am riveted. Yes, unfortunately, like I can get particularly when like it's got to be your team, right? The Nationals are my team. They're bad this year. You're not going to see me do that this year. But if the Nationals are good and really competitive, and I'm starting to get sucked into the story, because that's the premise of the podcast, which is like stories will get me. So like
Yeah.
when we won our World Series, even before the World Series happened, we had this baby shark thing that started. The players started dancing when they hit a home run. We had these crazy bits that started. It was a very bit heavy team, and I loved it. Everybody
Baby Shark was one of the bits. The YouTube video.
So, and this is one of my absolute favorite things. We had a bit going on in Nationals. Gerardo Parra has a daughter. She loves Baby Shark. As a joke, he did his walk-up music to Baby Shark. Mm-hmm. Everybody laughed. But then it slowly built. And there was this thing where at one point he did it. It was like the 5th game he did it. And it cut to a bunch of people in the crowd and they were going like this during the song. That caught...
The motion from the Baby Shark.
Yes. Everybody, there was a lot of in social media thing about it. The next game back at home, the entire crowd, when that song came on, stood and did this, and it was awesome. And from that point on, Baby Shark was a staple of the team.
This sucks.
It was so great.
This sucks so.
It
This
was
sucks so hard.
The best. I will put it. You will love it. And then on top of that, it became such a thing. Then we had this little toy Baby Shark that we kept in the dugout. Then it became a whole thing. And that guy, Gerardo Parra, didn't make the team this year. And they immediately hired him as a special assistant. So he'll be a part of the Nationals forever. That's how special Baby Shark was to the team.
That's nice. But like things like this are cool when they're unique to the team, not when it's just people doing a popular YouTube video.
Yeah.
Like,
But
that's not. That's just.
But nobody walks up to Baby Shark except him. It was so fun. It was very special to us.
That's fun. But I'm just saying. It sucks. The organic nature of it, I'm sure, can seem fun, but
it was like when I went to the World Series, like when he walked, because he came off the bench, but he pinch hit at one point. The excitement in the crowd when it was like, we get to be here when Baby Shark happens at the World Series, and we all stood up and did it, and you got to see the whole crowd do it. Basically, I'm proud of myself, and I loved it, and I had such a good time, and I'll never not.
Yeah, I really loved it when my favorite part of the 2000, for Red Sox was when they all sang the Crazy Frog song. Remember the Crazy Frog? They were all into Crazy Frog, and it was great, and specific to the baseball team. Not at all something that was going on in the wider culture, a stupid meme that everyone was addicted to.
But we took it. We ran with it. It was better. Did you play sports growing up?
I mean, play is a generous word. I was anti-sports until I was in college. I had no interest. I was made to play sports and at a young age, and I have 2 memories. My main memory of playing sports was playing t-ball as a kid and I hit the ball and everyone yelled, "Adam, run, time to run." And instead of running, I dropped my bat and I started crying and I went, "I want to go home." And my dad picked me up, took me straight to the car. We went right home. We left the entire game.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that's my memory of sports.
That's a good, it's good to have that moment early. Like for me, it took much longer for me to accept sports wasn't going to happen. So I always respect when I hear people who are like 7 years old. Done. Just this isn't the route for me. I hung in there so long with basketball dreams. Not growing an ounce, nothing happening so clearly, but I was pretty good, so I made like all-stars, so I was like maybe, but then it was just so sad.
My mom sent me one year, I think in middle school, to some sort of summer basketball program, like a day camp, at the school for basketball. And I was like, why am I being made to do this? And I would get there, and I remember the main thing I would do is I'd bring a copy of Nintendo Power Magazine, my true love and obsession, with me. And I would just, instead of doing it, I would just read Nintendo Power Magazine. And because this was a camp and not school, they didn't make me do it. They were like, yeah, you can do that. Why are you here, kid? Like, everybody else wants to play basketball. And I was like, yeah, not me.
I mean, but I respect the camp that they were like, hey.
Yeah,
let's let them live.
Yeah,
that's great.
Another similar memory is that in high school, you had your choice. 1 year in gym class, you had your choice of sports. You could play baseball, and you could play tennis. And every other boy chose tennis, Sorry, chose baseball. Every other boy, every boy chose baseball except for me and my two like nerdy friends who chose tennis. And so when gym class started, they would just hand us tennis rackets and be like, go over there, do your thing. Just go. We're going to play sports. You three go do whatever you want. And we would just stand at the tennis court and just sort of like lazily hit balls and talk about Super Nintendo games, talk about Final Fantasy and stuff. And we're like, that was the best. We were still outside. It was good for us.
I look back on gym class with such regrets. I remember complaining about it so much. And I look back on it as an adult being like, the best class we had, for sure. The fact that people remember it as negative, I'm like, oh, the amount of time, it was so easy if you didn't want to do something to not do anything in gym class. Gym teachers could not give two shits across the board. They were like, yeah, do whatever you want. Ugh. And there I was complaining. Goofy. But I do remember bringing Pokemon cards to a basketball camp. For the record, I always straddled the line.
Okay,
which is kind of my thing. As an
you don't have to suck up to me. It's fine. You're a jock. I understand.
I'm a real jock.
Nerds are cool and jocks suck, and everyone knows that now. And you feel insecure, and you're trying to.
Oh, so somebody brings in some nerdy. I wish. God, I wish I was that person. It is cool when it is interesting seeing jocks grow up. Has become a very fascinating part of.
Oh yeah. Sport. Oh, I feel so bad for them.
Yeah. Well, athletes. I mean, even
they got nothing going on.
Ooh. Well, it's just it's the thing. It's the thing that they spent the most time on as a kid. That's the least effective as an adult.
Yeah.
So it's just tough to see because you're like, oh.
Yeah, and it's and I really think it is. Abusive is a strong word, but I think it's unfair to kids who get tracked into playing sports at a young age, especially in places where high school sports are a big deal, because they are having their natural desire. Okay, so kids have a natural obsessiveness. They love to get into things and they love to excel at things. They love to get really good at things, right?
Some say as adults too.
What'd you say?
Some say as adults too.
Adults do it as well, but kids especially will do it. But they will do it at whatever adults kind of point them at. And so you see it as, you ever seen like competitive cup stacking?
Yes.
You've seen this?
Sure.
Where the kids with the cups, right? And it's cool, but you look at this and go like, what a fucking waste of a natural ability, of a natural ability not to stack cups, but to get good at something, right? Now, when I look at a kid doing something self-directed, right? For example, speed running video games is a useless activity that I enjoy watching people do, right? And like 16-year-olds will get really good at it. They'll get incredibly good.
Sorry, hit a vein. I love speedrun videos. I think are so fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
Like how they get into it.
They're super fun, but it's the kid deciding to do it. No adult is like, yeah, hey, you should speed run video games, right? It's just it's self-directed.
And I also think there's a level. Like I think everybody can play. I think high school, middle school sports are great. But that once you get into the travel world as a kid, and that can start around late elementary.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
is that adults make the kids do it, right? And the kids love the adults are making the kids do it. Like the adults are, even if they're not individually making the kids do it, they have set up a system under which kids are pressured and rewarded, right? Like a system under which I look at this through a labor lens. The kids are not paid. Right?
Sure.
But even in the travel team level, it is for the entertainment of adults. That is the purpose of it.
Yes.
And the kids are not paid and they're learning a skill and often injuring their bodies for something that like really does not pay off. Yes. Like it's fun and, fun competition is good. But, I have a cousin who was, I was talking to recently who was like an extremely competitive high school like soccer player. And so was her brother, my other cousin, who passed away in high school. But they were like like as kids, they were just like soccer all the time. And she was telling me that she was like, yeah, that was my whole life until I blew out my knee.
Of course,
at the age of like 17, and like my life changed forever.
I have a part of a joke about how like high school you play sports and it's like you won't be good at it but you will sustain an injury playing it that will stay with you for the rest of your life. That's your experience there, which is true. I mean, there's so many people I know who are like, yeah, my right hip just isn't forever because you don't get the right surgery as a kid because you're a kid, so you can kind of walk it off. Yeah. But then just forever, there's no cartilage in your hip. And you're just...
You can tear your ACL. My dad, he did not have this experience, but and the reason I don't play organized sports as an adult, maybe fun to join a rec league, right? Except that my dad tore his ACL in his 20s playing like touch football, right? And Fast forward to 40 years later, had to get a knee replacement because
listen,
that's what happens, right?
Well, you're talking to a guy who pulled his hammies very severely acting. So,
so like
the risk is there.
sports are meant to be, sports for kids should be fun, and they should have the opportunity to be aspirational. But like
and I think it should, yes. And my final thing would be, I think it should be like a child actor situation of, if this kid is truly excelling in a crazy way, there's really money to be made. Like, okay. And we went too long. That's what happens. Let's hit the theme song and let's go.
You're a number one fan, so you know the stats. Heard all the pundits talking, so you know enough of that. Maybe it's time to hear some crazy folks chat about all the other stuff that's behind the net. But maybe you don't care about playing ball, and you want to hear the gossip whether big or small. Maybe it's time to hear some funny folks talk about what goes on when the batter don't walk. Maybe you'd like to hear a little more. Maybe you don't even care about sports. Either way, go on and buckle up your shorts. Cause this is everything but the scores with Danny Jolles. Yeah, doggity.
And welcome back to the podcast. Went too long, classic me. I was eyeing it the whole time, and I was like, but then we were on such a good run there.
it was my fault.
No, it's my fault. I gotta be on it.
Can I just point out something in your room at risk of derailing things even further?
Please go ahead.
You had this bobblehead, and I looked at it as Victor Robles. But I just want to say, when I first looked at it, I thought it said Victor Bobbles, and I was like, "There's no way this bobblehead is named for a guy. This is Victor Bobbles." That's it.
No, he's a good player. He's a good man.
You can cut that out of the podcast. That was pointless.
No, I liked it. And Victor Bobbles, I will say the fact that they didn't call it that on the thing, being like Victor Bobbles. I do imagine that's the kind of thing. I will say, having done a little bit with sports, I don't know if you've done anything on like the entertainment side of sports. When you pitch anything fun to sports people, it is met with usually harsh resistance. They are like, it's very hard to do something. I've tried so many sports shows.
I've heard of this from many people who are sports comedy people who are like, you cannot get anything through.
Can't pitch it. It's so hard. I'm trying to do a couple things right now, and like all of them, it's just like.
But then when the sports people are on TV, they're always trying to be funny. They're all trying to be Shaq up there.
I know.
Trying to like make chummy jokes. It doesn't work unless you're Shaq.
I know. Inside the NBA is the funniest show on TV.
It is,
in my opinion.
And it makes me angry, but also nobody else is able to do it. Except for, well, I'm sorry, you want to do a story, but can I talk about this?
Go.
Okay, because I do think there's something brewing in the baseball world, which is the combo of David Ortiz and A-Rod on it's Fox's World Series coverage, right? Because
go.
Those two guys.
This as the first story.
Those two guys are so weird with each other.
Yes.
And is Frank Thomas also up there?
Frank Thomas is up there,
Yeah.
and then there's one, and then they have like their Ernie Johnson, which is like, I think it's just like a dude. They have one dude who's just like.
Is it Kevin Burkhardt? No, it's somebody else. Okay, it's some dude.
Yeah.
But like,
yes, they're starting to have a lot of fun on that show, and it's genuine fun, and they're doing the thing really well, because this is what Inside the NBA does so well. And if you don't know sports, Inside the NBA is a show on TNT that was initially started to be like the standard in between games, bunch of athletes discussing the game. It has become the funniest show on TV. They are pranking each other. Shaq and Charles Barkley have this incredible relationship with each other where they seemingly are about to fight. And by the way, fought in real life when they were basketball players. Did have a fight on the court. But also love each other.
It's great. The show is more popular than the games, usually. People just love that.
The highlights from that show are so good. Shaq and a Fool. I mean, they've really segments that have stuck with it.
It's a unicorn in sports broadcasting for sure.
But baseball has started their own show that is, and it's very naturally, where they're doing the thing that they do really well, where they are very funny, but they're also having these amazing moments of actual analysis where it is three people who truly, I mean, there was a clip that went viral at some part of them breaking down like their batting stances, the three of them, and it was riveting.
I have not seen that.
It is the three of them just, I think it's about batting stances, but it's the way they approach, and it's just the three of them being like, I always did it like this, like really, because I always, and you're just like, this is such a high level conversation. This is three experts discussing a minute thing in such detail. It is like just so riveting, and then they're also very funny. I agree with this.
They're funny, but they're funny in the interactions between them is so strange because okay, so first of all, David Ortiz is wonderful. He looks
David Ortiz, baseball player for the Boston Red Sox for forever, who is just became the face of Boston. Just particularly Boston Marathon
huge
bombing.
guy.
Yep.
Just hit home runs. Never field DH. Dominican, right? He's from the Dominican Republic.
I believe so. Yes.
Really, just a fun character.
Also, one of the best sports stories we ever told on here was when somebody. When he almost died because somebody stabbed him in the back.
Shot him in the back.
In the Dominican. It was the wrong person.
Wait,
they
what
happened to shoot the wrong person, and it just happened to be David Ortiz that they fucked it up with. It is one of the wildest stories ever.
That's crazy.
It was crazy.
Well, he on this show, and I mostly see when it's World Series on Fox, they do the post game, and he is like always dressed to the nines. He has a jeweled earpiece, like his earpiece is jeweled. And he is just so irrepressibly having so much fun. Like I think I think it was the year that the Dodgers won, and he was talking to them from the field, and he had no questions. He was just like, "Baby, you're the world champions. You're so good." Like that, he just kept saying that over and over again. How you feel? You're the best. You're the champ. Like that, and they were like, "Yeah, David. I mean, it feels great. Thank you." But then he's there with A-Rod, rivals,
Alex Rodriguez, rival baseball player who has obviously pop culture. I don't think a lot of people know who he is, but really also a very intelligent person.
Really intelligent person, but also a guy who for his entire life has been trying to figure out how to appear like a human being. Like
very true.
he's just trying to like what do humans do? And he's trying to be like in his head, he thinks that he is a crossover like cultural star, that he in his head he thinks he should be doing movies. Yes. He thinks he's Dwayne Johnson.
He's doing Shark Tank. I mean, he's very much doing those things.
Yeah, but he's too composed. He's like Poppy, David Ortiz will just say something loose and naturally funny because Poppy's just being Poppy. He's just like being loose, and A-Rod is like, ha 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 ha, that is so funny, David, and it'll just like it'll be too composed. And he looks weird. He's always had like one of those guys where you're like, is he putting on? Is he tanning a lot? His face is always shiny. His like nails are extra done.
He's aging weird, but then also well, which is I think kind of the weirdest way to age, which is like he's still a very good looking dude.
Yeah.
In incredible shape. And yet it's not quite working out.
It just
but there's nothing you can actually point to be like why it isn't working. You're just like, it isn't aging great, but it isn't bad in any like physical way. I don't know what it is.
It just creates this like the overall interplay of these people on television creates something better and weirder than what the people making the show intended. Yes. And that's what I like about it.
Which is what happened inside the NBA for what it's worth. It seemed like they really stumbled into that show.
Yeah.
They really sort of went, hey, what if we stop? And it's, I mean, I've brought it up in many pitch meetings and even like the amount of time, like everything that goes on TV is, I mean, you have to go through it 100 times. Is this okay to say? Is this okay to say? Can we say this? We can't, God forbid God forbid you're doing a live show. I mean, God forbid the amount of analysis that goes into every word and you have to be prepared for everything. I always am like, watch one episode of Inside the NBA. There's a trust built in that set where they let these people just be funny. There's clearly communication. Everybody's listening, and it works.
And that's good broadcasting. That's what broadcasting should be. It should have intimacy and spontaneity. That's the fun of live television. And so I hope they keep growing that in the MLB because I thought it was great. I think what they should do is they should add Pedro Martinez to the mix because that guy is also a really weird broadcaster and also has the connection to the other two. Did you see the clip where he said on a live TV, he said, in the Red Sox, when it used to get we'd be in a slump, here's what I would do. I would run around the locker room naked, and that would make everybody laugh. And then I would bring my friend who is a little person and is the height of 2 magazines. This is how he put it. It's how Pedro Martinez put it. He's like, I have a friend. He's the height of 2 magazines, and I would carry him around the locker room, and everyone would pick him up for good luck. And the other broadcasters were like, Pedro, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you? Cut him off. Yeah. Cut his mic. But it was too genuine. It's just like, so funny. Here's what I did.
It's just so crazy when somebody says something like that, and you're like, wow, you're just the amount of not knowing what the world is expecting from you and what is okay to say is so far removed. You're like, it's so it's a part of you is refreshing, a part of you is like, don't say that, but a part of you is like, God, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
I want to say
live TV.
when we take a break, I'm gonna look it up. I want to say that little person actually is like a famous person in Boston sports because of this. This is like a thing.
Okay.
That then one of these things that like as time has progressed, Boston sports I feel like has kind of like kept like, no, we're not going to talk about that period anymore. Keep it down. But I'm pretty sure that was like a thing. I have to look it up though. But there was like a thing about that. I remember it though.
Well, I derailed you once again. So what is the story that you have on your little piece of paper? Well, with your little notes that you've prepared. What do you have? Dazzle us.
Let's see if there's a quick story. I'm gonna save the long story for after this. Or actually, you know what? We'll take a break now. We'll be right back.
I can't wait.
Oh, hey there. During this break in the action, I just wanted to throw out there that this is the perfect opportunity to write a comment or subscribe, or if you're listening, you can just give us a rating and whatever you want. Just this is the moment where during this break, since we don't have a Patreon or anything, this is the moment to do something like that. It'd mean a lot. All right, back to the action. And we're back. Okay. So here comes our story. Yeah. Our first, some say second story of the show.
Wait to hear.
It's going to be a good one. It's a hockey story.
Okay.
And it's for those who know the podcast, this is a staple of mine because this is a very rare occurrence. But we had an emergency backup goalie a couple weeks ago. Do you know what emergency backup goalie is?
No.
It's the best thing in sports. Very rare. In hockey, every team has on their roster 2 goalies. Mm-hmm. These one starts, the other one sits and waits around, usually doing nothing, but occasionally will have to come in to fill in for the guy if he gets hurt, or sometimes he just stinks.
Baseball teams have 2 catchers.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. 2 catchers. But there is a third person in the stadium who is called the emergency backup goalie. And his job is to show up to the stadium and eat hot dogs and watch the game. He gets paid to do this. This is just a normal dude. And his job is to do that. And occasionally, when that second goalie goes in, because in baseball, a like shortstop would play catcher, you can't have another player play goalie. Oh. So this guy has to go back there, put on the equipment, and just be there in case something happens.
Okay, in case the backup goalie gets hurt.
For some reason, which is impossible. When does that happen? But every now and then. The situation arises where this poor human has to actually go out and play in a professional hockey game, and it happened a couple weeks ago. Tom Hodges was the guy's name, was eating hot dogs. He is a life insurance salesman. He has
Wait, these aren't even athletes?
This guy, I mean, he played goalie as like a kid. His story was he wanted to be a goalie as a kid. He at 12 years old got blinded in his left eye. Permanently blind, which is the end of your career there.
Wow.
100%.
Okay.
So he just like moved on, but he plays like rec league, and I think he played like on the roster of an ECHL team.
Now, why don't they have real players doing this? Because it's like
because
such a
it's like who
situation.
would do that? Yeah, it's like who would do that? You're never playing, and you're it's like again, it happens once every 2 years, and that's of every stadium. And by the way, there's one guy for both teams. So this other, I will say the other.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's there for either team.
So he's not even paid by the teams. He's paid by what, the league?
He's played by Dallas Stars to be the guy for either team.
Oh,
so he is there just like...
So he like works for the stadium almost.
He's a state employee where you get free tickets and you get to watch the game. But there's this note that you might have to go in and face professional hockey players' shots.
Way to do it.
It's insane that it exists, but that's a real person's job. And poor Thomas Hodges was back there, and they were like, "You're gonna have to go in for the entire third period." 20 minutes of hockey. This man was out there, but so he had to play for the Anaheim Ducks, which was the other team.
Okay,
but the Stars, I guess he like would occasionally fill in for them, like during practice as a goalie. So they knew him a little. So the players all were excited for him, and basically everybody like was skating up to him, being like,
Tom!
"You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay." Like, I mean, after the game, he's interviewed being like, I basically was having a panic attack. I was having a complete panic attack, and the players really settled me down. Everybody was like, you're going to be okay.
You're going to be okay. To the face.
Well, I mean, just so terrified to be out there. He was so scared, apparently, as he should be.
Yeah.
He did 20 minutes. They only shot twice. He made 2 saves. They only shot really twice, and then they scored on him once.
Okay.
But that was enough for them to
But
have
he's
the
probably relieved when he scored on because the puck doesn't have to touch his body.
Oh, yes.
Like, that's better for me.
It's got to be the most terrifying thing a human can go through is to have to go out there. And he did it for 20 minutes. He, at the end of the game, was like... I mean, it's the sweetest interview after the game. First off, after the game, he goes back there. The entire Dallas Stars team, first off, gives him a hug at the end of the game. To go up to the opposing goal to give him a hug. Congratulations.
That's nice.
As a team, I mean, it's in general, it's like, if I was thinking about it, I was like, if it was stand up.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it was like, for this show to happen, we need a person from the crowd to do a set. Our goal wouldn't be like, dude, you have to crush. Our goal would be like, just get through 5 minutes. If you can just do it, man. Like, we'd be so proud of you. They're all so proud of him. They all shower him with champagne when he comes back there. They give him like everyone just sign stuff.
Highlight of the guy's life.
Highlight of the guy's life. He gets interviewed afterwards. He's like, this was the best moment of my life. I'm so glad I didn't embarrass myself. If anybody needs life insurance, I would love to sell it.
But wait, hold on though. Is he still the emergency backup goalie? Because the second time this happens to him, it's not going to be as fun.
So there's never been a second time with a guy. This happened because I've actually wondered that ahead of time. So I was like, because it happens probably every 2 years, 3 years.
Okay.
A guy has to go in. Usually not for an entire period. That is an extremely long amount of time for him to be in
What
there.
happened to the normal or to the backup goalie?
So it was the first goalie. He had a lower. So the first goalie got hurt. He had an upper body injury in the first period.
Okay.
So the second goalie comes in during the second period, I guess has a lower body injury. So that's the thing. It's like the amount of just escalating shitty things that had to happen for this guy to have to go in to be like, I mean, just has to be
But
like.
also, you're like, I'm only in here because the first 2 guys
Are hurt.
Are
Professional
hurt.
athletes.
They got hurt doing what I'm about to do.
What I'm about to do, and I have no training. I have no. I mean, he's just, and it's like, and he's also, by the way, he's wearing like basic equipment. He isn't wearing like the like it's like.
What?
I mean, he's wearing their jersey, but it's like he doesn't have like. He looks goofy. It isn't fit for him.
Yeah.
So he doesn't look
because all the
right.
other guys have custom equipment. That's
Custom equipment made for them, the type of stick they like, the type of helmet they like. He's just out there with whatever they have left over.
I wonder if it's one of those things too, where it's like he always stretched before just in case, and this is the one day he's like, they're not gonna call me.
Oh.
And then he's like, oh man, I'm gonna pull something. It's like that when you you're like, I'm pretty comfortable. Like I know they're not gonna call on me this time.
Some guy said, one of the players, Joel Hanley on the Stars said, I met him for the first time on the ice after the game. Seemed like a great guy. Said he was eating a hot dog when he found out he was playing.
You were kidding about the hot dogs.
No, the hot dog thing is real. They're just supposed to sit there and chill. They're never supposed to come in. You're not supposed to come in. That's
Would you take this deal? You get to go to every game for free. Maybe they pay you what? Maybe they pay you
a couple hundred.
$20 a game or something like that. Whatever.
Yeah.
You have to go to every game. You might have to enter the game. Do you take this deal?
You know, this is going to be a world where I'm not a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so my nights aren't precious.
Yeah.
In a world where I'm not a stand-up comic, absolutely.
Yeah, you would do it.
I would do it for. I would do it for because the nice thing is for the guy. While it's terrifying, you're like there's no expectation.
Yeah.
The expectation is like just go out there and give it your all.
Yeah.
And then, if possible, give the most humble interview afterwards, which this guy crushed.
Yeah.
This guy crushed his interview afterwards of like, I'm just a guy. This was so scary. Thank you for letting me do it. Everybody was so nice. What an experience. I would do it in a second. I would do it, and I would just be like, yeah, I'm going to get hurt. I'm going to hurt. But also, like, that's... Because it's like what you said of, like, I'm not playing rec league basketball. Same thing. Like, I used to play pickup basketball when I moved to L.A. There was, like, a comedians game. I stopped at a certain point. I was like, I keep seeing people get hurt, and then you can't act for 6 months.
On Adam Ruins Everything one year, the actor Adam Lustig, who is our most... the actor
Adam Lustig, one of the most... so funny,
incredibly funny. Yeah,
so funny. He was
our workhorse. He was in every single episode playing a different character. He showed up to set one day in a full leg cast, like a cartoon cast, with like his toes sticking out the end. And I was like, dude, what happened? And he was like, I was playing basketball. And I was like, what happened? And he's like, I was playing basketball and I broke my leg. I was like, okay. So I'd been thinking that year, maybe I should like learn to play. Maybe that'd be fun. And then I decided, no, I'm not going to do that.
I played a little basketball during the pandemic because it was just so boring, and like with a couple friends, and we had like an outdoor game. But I literally would show up and I'd be like, I want to be very clear. I'm not jumping up in the air with anybody else. Like, if I'm going up for a rebound and you want to jump up, you get the rebound. Don't do it. I'm not doing it. I'm not landing on an ankle.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not hurting myself.
I rolled my ankle and sprained it walking down the street the other day. This is 2 weeks ago. I was walking down the street. There was a slight imbalance in the sidewalk paving stones. And my foot, and this is not the first time this happened to me in my life, my foot rolled. I fell onto my ankle. I was in incredible pain. I was in so much pain, I passed out on the street. My girlfriend was with me, and she was like holding my hand and like brought me back to life. It was like, you're okay. And then I sprained my ankle, and it was sprained for 2 weeks, and I'm just now over it. And that was walking down the street. I'm not fucking jumping in the air.
I passed out when I pulled my hammies on the set. I was acting, blowing up right now on Amazon Prime. There is a scene where you will see me running down an alleyway. And what you don't see is seconds after the director yelled cut, both my hammies at once imploded.
Oh, no.
Pulled so hard I went flying through the air like a bird.
Oh, my God.
And, passed, did the thing of like, they tried to like lift me up. And I was like, let's try to get... And just like pain overwhelmed me. And then then it took me a while. And it fucks you over so long. I was on Crazy X. I had Crazy X in like 2 months after I got hurt.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, I got 2 months to rehab it. Didn't make it. And basically had to like, there's an episode of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend where if you're paying very close attention, you'll notice that George is walking real stiff. Wow. Because that's all it is. You're just stiff. You just can't move your legs.
Yeah.
And then I just rehabbed the shit out of it and like finally got back. But it was like, I remember like, because I didn't want to tell them. Because you're so like, because also with pulled hammies, there's no like cast.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can look normal on set. And but of course it happens.
You can't move in certain ways.
And Crazy Ex-Girlfriend happens to be the most physical TV show ever made in the history of television. The only show ever where you have to be able to move. Oh, it's brutal. That pain is and sprained ankles, by the way, because I sprained my ankles as a kid playing basketball.
Yeah.
And then I sprained my ankle constantly as an adult, and then like you realize like I don't know what the first time you sprained your ankle.
I mean, I sprained my ankle 10 years ago doing literally the same thing in New York, walking around, and I just rolled my ankle and fell on it. And, and I roll my ankle. There's plenty of times walking on the street. Oh, I rolled my ankle a little bit, but I didn't actually put weight on it. But if you fuck up and you put some weight on it, and I'm like, this could happen to me again. And now I'm going around like it was the same ankle. So I'm like, okay, for some reason, this is weak and I don't know why.
It's my right ankle because I used to... When I played basketball, I'd jump off my left. I would land on my right. On my right ankle, I sprained it probably 100 times. And then because I was like, I read online how to rehab pulled hamstrings. Yeah. This is advice for anybody, by the way. If you hurt yourself, I was like, I read online how to rehab pulled hamstrings. I was like, I'm good. And the choreographer from Crazy X, Cat Burns, was like, go to a PT, go to a physical therapist. I'll pay for your first one. Please go. And I went, and at that point it was like probably 2 months. I felt pretty good. And the lady was like, you ever hurt yourself before? I was like, I sprain my ankle all the time. She's like, cool. Did you ever rehab it? And I was like, no. And she's like, that's why you keep spraining it. And then she goes, how you feeling? I said, I feel pretty good. And then she just pushed on the back of my hamstring. The most pain I've ever felt. She was like, you're not good. And if you don't rehab it, you'll just pull this thing 100 times.
Wow.
And I did. And I really took time. And I have no issues with my hamstrings now. It's really important to rehab.
Wow.
That's advice.
That's advice.
That's advice.
Woo. Well, maybe I should go to a physical therapist for my ankle.
It'll really help. I mean, if you got good insurance, like if you have insurance, if you got health insurance, it is
insurance.
What?
I got Writers Guild insurance.
Ooh, Writers Guild even better than SAG.
It is.
Because I got the SAG.
It is. Well, that's what. Look, I don't want to get into union politics, but no, I'll go for 1,000.
Oh, and I can't let that happen because
we can't let that happen. Can we talk about this story? Just one more thing. I want to say this story because I do think my favorite thing about sports is when you get a sense for what the possibility space is of things happening, and then something very unlikely happens. And that's the most fun thing. It's like, oh, things changed up, you know. And like my own version of this was when I started watching baseball. I used to love it when a position player would pitch. It was very fun and funny to see.
Very fun.
They're like, oh, well, they just got to go do it, and you're going to go see this dummy go like, oh, boy, I haven't pitched since high school kind of thing. But then what I always think is really weird is that, like 2 years ago, suddenly there was like an epidemic of position players pitching. Like it started happening like regularly in games. It was the same year that a lot of teams started using openers instead of instead of having started pitcher. There'd be a lot more platoon pitching, and I feel like that was like a fever that kind of broke. Like the manager stopped doing that quite so much. But there's this weird thing where it's suddenly just like every game, fucking Kike Hernandez is pitching for the Dodgers. And it started to suck.
It is true. There was a period in baseball, if you don't know sports, where there's pitchers who pitch, and then there's players who position play, and they play the other positions, and you don't interchange minus Shohei Ohtani, who's a freak of nature. And so, but there became a thing where if you were down 8-9 runs, everybody just went, well, we're not going to waste our pitchers on this game.
Yeah.
So let's put the shortstop on the mound, and these poor guys who hadn't pitched since high school, but are still, the thing is, those guys are still throwing 60, 70 miles per hour just off of the natural baseball ability they have.
Yeah.
There's still a baseball.
But the regular pitchers are pitching 90 to 100.
Oh, they're going to get smashed, but they are at least professional baseball players.
Yeah.
This poor dude is a life insurance salesman. It's the only, I was trying to think of it. I was like, I think it's the only sport where a true non-athlete can end up on the field.
That's crazy. Why not just have nobody there?
Because then nobody would play goalie, and I guess that's the policy they landed on. And as someone, I can only say it is my favorite thing in sports. I literally live for this moment.
Yeah.
The joy when I saw it happen, it was like, I mean, the podcast, everything. It's like the excitement I had to look up Thomas Hodges was just like through the roof. I love it.
That's amazing.
So I think a lot of hockey people do love it. And it's like an important tradition of every couple of years we get this moment, this special moment. And for Thomas Hodges, thank you for doing your service. It is the best. All right, we'll be right back. During this break in the action, if you have a story idea, send it to me. You can email it to me. You can message me on Instagram. You can message me on Twitter. You can message me on all the ways to send it to me. Send me ideas. I'll shout you out. I like it. I don't know everything. Send me ideas. All right, back to the show. Right, and we're back, and we just embarrassingly admitted we're trying out new smiles in Danny Land. Don't you got to mix up your smile, you know?
Oh boy, no one's gonna even know what that means.
My smile isn't doing it on photos anymore. I gotta mix it up. This is a real sad thing. All right, so this is quick hits. There's a couple quick stories. We sometimes do one. We sometimes do a bunch. Let's start here. There's a coach for the Cleveland Browns named Hugh Jackson. I don't remember him. He a couple years ago, earlier this year alleged that the Cleveland Browns paid him to lose games.
Oh, I heard that.
And so there was a formal investigation, and the investigation came out from the NFL, and it basically concluded publicly that he's a bad coach. And it was a pretty wild review.
Well,
it's being like, we've done research into it, and it appears he stinks as a coach.
So wait, but the allegation is that they were paying him to lose games to tank? Is that it?
Yes, to tank.
Okay. I don't know much about tanking in the NFL.
So, in American sports in general, if you don't know sports, in European sports, if you're the last team to league, you get relegated. There's a real punishment. In American sports, including football, no punishment.
Yeah,
you just get the best draft pick. Yes, you get rewards. So a lot of teams, there's always rumors of, are they trying to tank? Are they trying to give up in order to get the worst pick and just giving up on the season? And that is what he alleged.
Yeah, and so let's say, it's a really interesting question in the way he put it, because he said, I was paid to lose games. Mm-hmm. They were bribing me. They were telling me to throw the game like Pete Rose or whatever, right? Like it's malfeasance. And the conclusion is, no, he was just a shitty coach.
Yes.
Right? However, if the team was in fact tanking, what would you do? Hire the shittiest coach you can.
That's
and
a good
pay
point.
them. So it is possible they were in fact paying him to lose games, but not like paying him under the table. They were just paying him his salary.
That's a very good point.
To be bad.
Yes, and
1,000 IQ.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and that's what Adam does. But it is, yeah. You give
See the Matrix, man.
the way you do it, because you'll see teams like start shutting down players. Like there's stuff like that, right? Where it's like unofficial. There's always been that. Where they're like, hey, this guy's got a nagging injury. Hey, you know what, buddy? Let's get that nagging injury taken care of this year. Let's really rehab it up for next year. We're gonna shut down this player. We're gonna not play. We're gonna try a bunch of young. Hey, you know what? We're really experimenting with our younger players. Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But he said formally they told me to lose, which you're not allowed to do. Everybody knows tanking exists, but you're not allowed to formally. I think he alleged like $100,000 a game was his allegation.
Here's the thing, though. People get mad about tanking because it like sucks, right? It's not fun to watch a team that's trying to lose. Mm-hmm. But tanking isn't even the worst case scenario, and it's not that common. Like if a team is tanking, meaning they are trying to lose in order to get better draft picks, to get the pick of better players, then their plan is still to win later.
Yes,
they're tanking now to win later. Mm-hmm. But I would say most teams in most professional leagues aren't even trying to win. The owners are happy to not invest in the team. This is the case with most baseball teams right now. The owners are not trying to win because they know, well, we got a fat cable contract. People will come to the stadium anyway because they just like being outside and eating a hot dog. Right. So we don't need to invest any money in this team, and we'll still make plenty of money back. We could make more money if we invested money, but you know what? We don't feel like doing that. We'd rather spend less and just reap the profits. If you look at teams like the Orioles or whatever, like they're not tanking. They are just like, yeah, we just
Cincinnati Reds this year, Seattle Mariners this year, Oakland Athletics have a laughable. I think 5,000 people showed up to a game the other day.
Yeah.
I mean, laughably tanking.
Yeah, but they're not tanking to try to win. Like, you know, or, what are the NBA teams that have done this? Like the 76ers or whatever, aren't they one?
You trust the process.
Yeah, where they try to be bad for a little bit because we're going to get draft picks later.
Right.
At least they are trying to win at some point.
Baseball has a real problem with this. Baseball has a genuine problem with this. I think the thing is with a lot of these baseball teams is basically like the Nationals this year, my baseball team, before the season even started, they kind of openly were like, we're not going to be great. Yeah. Like, we looked at our roster. Yeah. It's not going to be a good year.
Yeah.
And they have proceeded to suck.
Yeah.
But as a fan, baseball is this sport where there's seasons where you're like, I guess we're going to suck this year. And then every now and then they're like, this is the year. Hey, we're making a run. And you'll see in baseball also a lot. At a certain point, teams are doing well and bad. And then the bad teams will start giving up. They'll sell some of their players to the good teams. And the good teams get really strong and they go into the playoffs with a lot of like, they'll come in with new people.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I mean, you know, like I follow the Dodgers since I moved to LA, and like the Dodgers this year, I'm like, okay, the Dodgers are just like the Yankees now. The Dodgers have loaded up so much, it's like, oh my god. But then on the other hand, my first time being a recipient of that, I'm like, it's nice to see them try. It's nice, like I'd rather be a fan of the Dodgers than of the Orioles or any of these other teams where like they're just fucking leeching money away from the city.
And the Nationals, credit to them, got me a World Series in 2019.
Yeah.
And they're trying. They just lost a bunch of players. We owe a bunch of players a bunch of money, and they basically were like, this just ain't the year. We don't have the young talent we need. We don't have a big star. You know, they sort of were like, hey, look, maybe these players, because the players are trying, like maybe they make a run. Yeah. But it doesn't appear as if it's going to happen. But you kind of know. Yeah, these people are smart. They know when they're going to do well.
But just like there should be a lot more fan outrage at those. Like again, tanking you hear about more.
Well, I don't understand why
they can leech billionaires.
Well, I just think that's where relegation is helpful. The idea of if you're the worst team, you're going to suffer. You're going to be now a minor league team, and guess what? That minor league team gets to be a major league team, and guess what? Now your TV deal's worse, and you don't get that amount of money, and you don't get this, and it really encourages you to try very hard.
Yeah, that's what happens in British soccer, for example. Is a really good example. Yeah.
Yes.
Except that we will never have a system like that instituted in the United States because the billionaires who own the teams, that would be bad for them. And so why would they? I mean, the league is a fucking oligopoly of these guys. Like the league is run by the teams that are doing that. Oligopoly. It's like a monopoly of many, right? I mean, Major League Baseball has like a legally sanctioned monopoly over the sport. And like if you look at, okay, there's 30 teams, right? How many teams are run by an owner like that who's like, I don't need to invest in the team. I don't need to invest in the players. Like the fans will show up no matter what the fuck I do. Certainly 16 of them or more are like that. they all have an equal share in how the place is run. That's how the whole league. That's like how they want the league to be.
Hey, listen. One of the first one of the first stories we did when we brought this back was about the owner of the Washington Commanders, Dan Snyder, and how he's literally a monster, and how they just can't get rid of him.
Yeah,
because it's impossible to get rid of a billionaire. You just can't sanction these guys.
Yeah,
you can't do it.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
And whatever. The last thing I'll say is that. And this is so much how the league runs that like the owners went on strike this year and like threatened, in their battle with the players, like, nah, we're gonna fuck you and we're gonna do it because guess what? We don't even want to play baseball. We don't even want the season to happen. We're happy to give up like weeks and weeks of it because we're such pieces of shit.
Yep. Oh, and I mean, listen, it's too long a thing, but minor league baseball. Mm-hmm. Get me started. And there's a great old episode with.
Now I'm mad.
There's a great old episode we did with Ty Kelly and Matt Perret, who are both major and minor league baseball players, about what their life is like as a minor league baseball player. It is laughable.
Oh my god, no, it's terrible working conditions.
Let's find a happy story though to end on.
Quick interjection.
I can turn it into an unhappy story. Whatever it is, I'll do it.
Oligopoly is the coolest word I've heard in a minute.
There's a new tennis freak. Teenager is about to be the new big thing.
Oh,
that's very exciting. Carlos Alcaraz just beat Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, and then the third-ranked player whose name I won't even attempt, and he's 19 years old. Very quietly, we just have all had to accept there's a new tennis freak coming.
Wow,
it's very exciting. Tennis is one of those where it's like every now and then you get a new freak, and you're like, oh. Exciting. Here's a good one. We'll close
that
on
Naomi Osaka bowl at Sweet Green. It's a pretty good bowl.
Is it?
I don't know. I haven't had it, but they really advertise it.
I know they do.
My girlfriend has it. It's good.
There you go. What was this? There's a 16-year-old golfer named Happy Gilmore that.
Oh, there isn't.
Oh my god.
That did a U.S. Open qualifier and is like pretty good.
The name of the kid is Happy
Gilmore.
No.
And we're excited.
As born with this name?
Born.
Birth certificate?
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
It's happening. And this kid, everybody's just like, golly, please get good. Please be good. Happy Gilmore, real kid, coming, 16 years old, but he's gonna make a run.
Oh my god,
we're excited about it.
Can't believe it.
All right, we'll be right back and we'll close this up. Oh hey, during this break in the action, I have nothing else to say. I just want to give us a break in the action. Thank you for watching. Keep subscribing, rating. All right, let's go back. And we're back. Adam, thank you so much for coming by.
Oh my god, I had a great time.
This was a delight. And I say all the time, I'm like, it's so fun having comics on here and then not talking about comedy for an hour. It's such a treat. I think you do it with your podcast too really well, where it's like to do a podcast where you don't talk about comedy.
I would love to do a podcast where I did talk about comedy, but it is a little crowded of a field.
It's so quite crowded. I mean, the amount of podcasts I do where I'm like, does anybody care about my fucking process? Anything you like to plug?
Yeah, I mean, my podcast, Factually, I talk with amazing experts, get all the knowledge nuggets out of their brains into mine and yours. It's every week. It's called Factually. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. And my new Netflix show, The G Word, is coming out on May 19th. So please watch it. Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Thank you. It's all about the federal government. Isn't that a great pitch?
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, but that is what you take things like that and make it very exciting.
That's what I do. I make it entertaining.
That is kind of the thing that you are famous for.
Yeah.
Know anything you'd like to plug? Oh, he's so off camera. I'm going to do it for Noah. His special is on YouTube. You should watch it. You should follow him at Noah Kopfer? Mm-hmm. At Noah Kopfer on all things. He's great. And then for me, it's just going to be one thing for the next month, so everybody get used to it. June 4th, Dynasty Typewriter, filming my next special. There is a big old technology element to it. I really want... My first special, there were so many reviews that were like, it's so cool how the crowd didn't know a special was being filmed, so they aren't on board the whole time. It's so fun. And I did love that about my first special. I did think it captured a real thing. This one, I'd like it if it was people that know me. So This one, I would like a little home.
There's a lot of technology. Is it going to be on the blockchain? What are you doing?
I'll tell you afterwards, but it's a reveal to the crowd what's happening. So if you're listening to this, please come, please. Because at a certain point, like obviously we're just gonna fill it with people, but I'm like, please let my people just buy all the tickets right now, so I can just have that experience. And then we close with one final thing. Adam,
Yeah. You gonna throw me a ball? Oh no!
you have 3 shots
Ah!
to get into this hoop. Sitting down.
I told you I don't play sports.
Here we go. Now I have to, before you do it, we have learned, but this is also for
This
people
ball
who
is filthy.
okay.
It's like
With the
covered in.
edit.
It's covered in like like how old is this?
Pretty old. Very old. Now, for the audio listeners, by the way, we do put this on YouTube for many reasons. I think people like to watch podcasts on YouTube, which I don't fully understand why, but whatever. But this is the moment where if you're going to watch anything, do it. So, Adam's first shot.
Okay, all right. I have no depth perception, just so I'm on record with that. All right, hold on, I'll put the mic.
And I'll be clear, we have yet to have a person hit. Okay, that's our first shot.
Incredibly far off. It's really it's a tough angle.
It's very
from
hard.
down here.
It's very hard, and we want to make the game hard, but
Okay, I gotta go to the right a little bit.
all right. This
I'm
is the
actually
final
gonna look
shot.
at that.
This is the final shot. This is the moment.
To the left again. It was pretty close actually, though. But
See you next week.
You're a #1 fan, so you know the stats. Heard all the pundits talking, so you know enough of that. Maybe it's time to hear some crazy folks chat about all the other stuff that's behind the net. But maybe you don't care about playing ball, and you want to hear the gossip whether big or small. Maybe it's time to hear some funny folks talk about what goes on when the batter don't walk. Maybe you'd like to hear a little more. Maybe you don't even care about sports. Either way, go on and buckle up your shorts. Cause this is everything but the scores with Danny Jolles. Yeah, doggity.